All right, welcome everyone to the October Mississippi PowerShell User Group Open Discussion Meeting. Tonight, we don't really have a formal agenda. We're going to do the welcome, which is this. Talk about PowerShell stuff, and then anything else anybody's interested in. Quick reminder of the meeting guidelines. Make sure you participate in the discussion, because if everybody sits here and says nothing, it's going to be a boring meeting. If you are presenting something, be mindful of the time and how much time you're taking. Just keep in mind there might be other people that want to present something. Be respectful, welcoming, and patient. You never know. There's always new people coming in, so make sure to be patient and welcoming of those. And this session is being recorded and will be posted to the Mississippi PowerShell User Group YouTube channel. So that means what you say here is on the internet forever. So be mindful of that. And just a quick note, we have the Mississippi PowerShell User Group website, and we also have a GitHub account. We do have a LinkedIn page as well, but I don't anticipate that's going to be quite as popular. So with that out of the way, I am going to just do a quick, nope, hang on. There we go. All right. There we go, back to normal. Did everyone actually see the presentation? Okay, there we go. All right. Small group tonight.
That's not bad.
No. Sometimes when you wind it with 20 or 30 people, it gets a bit noisy. Well, that's why we go to different user groups. Different experience with each one. So Greg, you've been coming to this one for quite some time.
Yeah.
I'd say probably years.
Yeah, I can't even remember when I started. It was several years ago.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say even before it was even when it was Mike Robbins running and Ron Edwards was running the group, I remember logging into the group, and sure enough, by the time I logged in, Greg's here. It's one of those nice constants.
Yeah, it was always a good group. It was a good time,
Mm-hmm.
and always good presentations.
Yeah, I know Mike said he'd pop in every now and again, but I think he's been to one meeting so far this year since he stepped back. He's got other stuff he's working on.
I wondered how he was doing. You ever talk to him?
No, I haven't talked to him recently. Every now and again, he'll send me an email when something comes up that he's forgotten to transfer over. I think the last couple things that are coming are the WordPress site needs might be moving, and the domain name's going to need a renewal early next year, I think, is what he said. So he's going to transfer that all over. It's been a bit of a process. It's taken almost a year to really cleanly transfer everything. But I don't think I've changed much. I think the only thing I've really done that's been different is I've added the open discussion meeting on the fourth Tuesday.
Joe, you said you're doing a lot of REST API work.
Yeah. During the lockdown, to keep myself from being furloughed, I had to make myself valuable to the company. So I picked up the PowerShell pretty fast. Started out with Don Jones' book, Learn PowerShell. I think it's in a month of lunches. And I think I stopped reading it like a quarter of the way through because I learned that everything's in the help. And then I ended up later on watching his lectures. I think it was called Tool Making, something to that effect.
Yep.
And very quickly learned that if I was going to do professional job, I needed to make tools, not so much scripts. So yeah, I spend about half of my day now integrating all sorts of e-commerce channels to an old school mainframe straight out of the 72.
I've got, I don't know, more than a half a dozen of the PowerShell books. I've got Don and Jeff Hicks books on PowerShell in depth. I've got the Windows PowerShell in action, the forerunner to it that was done by Richard Sidaway. I just own most of the PowerShell books that are written. I really do. I haven't read every word in all of them, but I love I buy them and I use them. I reference them, find different nuggets and different ones. You can't go wrong. Manning books, Manning.com. That's probably, I don't know if that's where you picked up that one, but they've got some great books, and you make sure you're on their mailing list because they run 50% off specials.
Yeah, you should grab up books when I do that. So a lot of those books are on my to-do list. I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole now with some C# and .NET, but PowerShell I found to be a very valuable tool for other things like working with Office 365 in my organization. So
that's not a rabbit hole. I'm doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, I'm actually working through it right now. The same book. Yep.
1,400 and something pages.
I think it was 2,400, at least in my edition.
Let's see. This one is 1,400 and something, including in the index. This is the older one. This is not version 8.
Yeah, I picked up the version 8, the new one. They just released it last month, and it's something like 2,400 pages. So chapter a week.
I got this one for $11, versus buying $60 for the new one.
Yeah, I saw a tweet today online. That book just reminded me of that. It was one of those tweets. Somebody said, "Oh, well, list the title of a book that made you cry," and one of it was like some data structures in Java book that somebody had posted, and I thought, "Oh, yeah, I can see that." Yeah, I saw that, and that made me laugh. Like, yeah, some of those books are pretty hard.
This is hard, but I always like learning the fundamentals from the ground up. I always find that's a good foundation, especially later on.
I haven't progressed a lot with it, but this is another good one. This is a Leanpub, so it's ebook only. It's on PowerShell. Excuse me, the cat just showed up. PowerShell to C#, and they're working on it. If you didn't already have that great big book, I bought this one just because I wanted it, because these are PowerShell guys talking about how to do C#. They were supposed to release 2 new chapters and they haven't yet, but I just learned because I want to, I think it's going to help doing PowerShell because it's all .NET.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. It's all interconnected. One thing leads to another.
Yeah, and I own Adam Driscoll's PowerShell Pro Tools. That's something else you can look at. It's not that expensive. Get it at least one time. And he has a PowerShell to C# converter and a C# to PowerShell converter. I think that's interesting. And then he's got a feature in there that will allow you to compile it into an executable, and you can make it bundle everything into that one exe. And I have Sapien PowerShell Studio at work, and it cannot do this. His will bundle everything into that exe so that you can actually, as long as everything that it needs is there. You can actually take and create a PowerShell 7 app and go run it on a box where there's no PowerShell 7 because it bundles everything into the
Really?
executable. Yeah,
I'll
I've
check that out.
done it. And he actually, I took the same code, and it's a new feature that he just put in it, and was able to compile into an executable for Windows in a binary for Linux, and then copy it over to my Windows subsystem for Linux and run it.
That's impressive.
Yeah. He's a real sharp cookie. He's got a product called PowerShell Universal for doing just all kind of things. Started out dashboards, but it's just wild where he's gone with it. Ironmansoftware.com, I think.
There are some wicked smart people in this community.
Yeah. Very smart. Excuse me, smarter than me.
Way smarter than me.
Yeah, I heard him on an interview somewhere, and he's just a brilliant guy. He was talking about his dashboard, and it just blew my mind. It was very humbling.
Oh, it is. I mean, the reason I got on the kick of trying to learn the C#, I think it was Thomas Rayner spoke several years ago at the PowerShell.org conference. And that's what he spoke on, was writing your own compile commandlets, because it's like trying to do multi-threaded things. You can do some multi-threaded work in PowerShell, but it's not as efficient as if you do it in C#.
Yeah, you have to be aware where that line is, where it's just not as efficient to do it. Where PowerShell's great up to a point, and then from there it's like, well, now you need to bust out some new tools.
Now, do you write in any other languages? Being that it's a mainframe, got some Fortran or COBOL going there?
No, it's actually a very, very proprietary mainframe from Epicor Software. I don't know if you ever heard of them. It's just the mainframe out of hell and very proprietary, but hey, we make do with what we're forced to use. So yeah, when I was told there's only maybe one or two other people on this planet who tried integrating with it, so that only challenged me to do it more. And it saves the company somewhere, I don't know how much, but it's 20 or 30 grand a year now, so they're pretty happy with it. But yeah, I really never coded much. I learned some things, but I was very motivated by the application, and I had done some Bash. And then when I started working with objects, that really intrigued me, and I find that very enjoyable.
Yeah, you definitely got a unique situation.
But there's a lot of things people go to me with, especially with Office 365, and they say, well, we're trying to do something, and maybe the setting's not there. We're doing some crazy mass operation. There's usually a way to do it through PowerShell with the Exchange Online commandlets or something in there. And it gives us a competitive edge, to be honest, over competitors too. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like you got no shortage of daily challenges and interesting stuff to work on.
No, yeah, that's for sure. And I really like, I mentioned that I do a lot of e-commerce integration. I love that we simply make the tools and we're working with everything in objects, so you don't have this overhead of some UI or anything. So it works great. And we're going to actually jump on the Walmart bandwagon soon, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I genuinely wish I had something interesting to share.
Yeah, I really don't either. So.
I don't know. Most of the stuff you've mentioned so far is pretty cool.
Oh, I think it's cool. You're wrestling the REST API. I've done a little bit of that. We use NetScalers And I used to be heavily involved with them. And I went to Citrix's Synergy conference one year, and I got to hear, I can't remember the lady's name, but she's from across the pond, and Esther Birchall. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but she a really smart lady, and she was doing some PowerShell work, and it was all REST API, manipulating PowerShells, manipulating the NetScalers with PowerShell and calling the REST APIs. And it's pretty cool. I had fun with it. It's a great learning experience.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild because we work with these REST APIs. Usually, you get the data back through JSON, and then you get into the PowerShell objects, and then from there it's trying to map things out, almost like mathematical functions.
Mhm.
Get a controller script going for one of those, and eventually you get a flat file database for the mainframe to eat up. So it's pretty wild working from 2019 or 2020 all the way down to 1972. You see everything. So I even had to go back to the basics and really learn terminals. And, it was great working with objects, but then I had to learn all this stuff like, what's a carriage return? Younger guy. So,
Yeah.
I barely remember typewriters. So remembering that and, the CLRF and how things are encoded. It was wild. Quite a learning.
That brings back VB script days, CRLF.
So yeah, some things I don't do that I wish you could do more is maybe more stuff with the Windows domain side of things. But hey, for now it's paying the bills.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's all what you're learning. It's just like I talked with one of our guys that he works on the finance team, and he's a COBOL programmer. We don't have mainframe anymore. They're not doing any COBOL, but we were talking the other day. There's a guy in Florida. He had retired. Sits there in his beach condo overlooking the ocean, and they kept coming after him till he's gone back to work, sitting on that balcony, looking over the beach doing COBOL, because COBOL's not going anywhere for a while.
Nope.
It's too much. It's like Fortran. I didn't realize that how much NOAA, I guess it is, the weather forecasting. It's all Fortran. That's why Manning Books sells a book, Modern Fortran.
You wouldn't think.
Yeah, I'm in the Northeast, and there's a huge demand in like New Jersey and New York for those programmers, primarily driven by the unemployment systems, but just everything, even the banking sector. There's a huge demand, and they're even recruiting out of state.
Well, but the stuff just works.
Mm-hmm.
It works, but it seems like there are some capacity issues that they had to overcome.
Yeah, and the problem is a lot of those old systems, the longer you wait, the harder it is to migrate. Like I know we've had that even with some newer software. We went 2 or 3 major versions in between migrations, and the vendor assisted us with it, and they said after we finished the last migration, we jumped like 3 versions. After we finished that, they said never again. They said you will do each version number, or we're not helping you. But yeah, and it is true. The longer you go, some of those legacy systems, run on COBOL. Trying to migrate those to a new system is incredibly difficult. It's probably why they're trying to hire people that can still manage COBOL.
Did you see Rob Sewell's thing on the Juniper notebooks?
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't got to see it yet. I saw it on the list. I'm playing with them. I've got the Azure Data Studio installed and been playing with those. It's pretty cool.
It is. He kind of lost me about halfway through. Not entirely his fault. I had to go away for about 5 minutes, then I came back and I was like, what is this? So I had to rewatch his presentation. Yeah, I missed about 5 minutes of it, and then I lost track of what we were doing. So, but yeah, that's something I want to take a look at too. Made a whole bunch of notes on that. Can't remember what other sessions I attended. There was quite a few though. Well, then we've got the Windows Server Summit coming up this week.
What is it? It's
Windows-
Microsoft Summit?
Yeah. Just their annual or semi-annual server summit. Tend to go to that all the time. Well, Windows Server is kind of my Windows Server being my happy place. There we go. I think it's just a 2-hour session, but
Oh, okay.
pretty good. Kind of keeps you in the loop. It's more of a here's what's new and upcoming in Windows Server.
Is that a fairly accurate technical event, or is it more salesy?
It's a little more salesy,
Okay.
but it kind of, I use it more of as a high level overview of what's coming. I don't rely on it for deep technical content. They'll like, one of the things they announced at one of the previous ones was the Windows Admin Center. So they kind of did a quick demo of that, and then here's the links where you can go learn more. So a couple hours to go and do that and hang out. And usually they have draws and giveaways and whatnot. So yeah, it's a little bit of a marketing tool as much as a technical. But yeah, being as that's my happy place, I'll keep going to that for as long as they have it.
I threw the link to on YouTube Chicago PowerShell user group. They had a PowerShell Saturday that they ran on a Friday, and they got there's several in there. And that first one that come up in the link is Jeff Hicks on building a better module structure. And he just give this presentation for Raleigh? No, he did teaching PowerShell for Doug Fink's the New York PowerShell user group, and somewhere on YouTube is that video. But if you're learning how to do modules, I've always considered back in my youth on wrestling, you had Mr. Wrestling 1 and Mr. Wrestling 2. So I consider Don Jones, Mr. PowerShell 1, and Jeff Hicks. They're kind of interchangeable because they both, been there since the beginning. And Jeff's a great teacher. Any of his books, obviously the book you've read, he was part of, and he just updated that their book on LeanPub, their tool making and PowerShell scripting and tool making book to cover version 7. But anything you can watch by him, you'll learn a lot.
I think he's done. Didn't he do 2 sessions for us this year as well?
I can't remember.
I'm just having a look now. I don't want to play the group. I just want to let's see, what do we got?
Did you have him do the same module on
jumping into Windows Terminal he did.
Okay.
And I can't remember what else we had him do. But every now and again I'll reach out and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'll do another session for you." So it's great, It's It's always great to have Jeff Hicks speaking for us because you're going to learn a lot.
Who did the building arrest powered PowerShell module?
Oh,
Who was
how
that?
long ago was that?
11 months.
Let's see. Give me a second here. I'm going to try and figure it out. So that'll be back during January, February time, somewhere back there.
Yeah. See, 10, no, that would be, this is the 10th month. That'd be December.
There it is.
Right.
Jeff Hicks.
See, there you go. You're doing REST
Yeah.
API work. There's build your own REST API modules by Jeff Hicks.
Oh, thank you.
Josh King's done a lot of talks for us too.
Another smart gentleman from the land down under, New Zealand.
Just having a look to see who was well, we've had some pretty good speakers this year. We've been really, really fortunate. However, we don't have anything else booked for the rest of the year. We need more speakers. Greg, you like to volunteer, right?
Well, there's some things I'd like to cover, but I got to learn them first.
Yeah, it's kind of where I'm at too. Well, I don't think if we don't have anybody booked in the next week or so, I'm just going to cancel the next meeting, which will be on November 10th. That one will be canceled. But not too worried because then we can all just attend the Research Triangle PowerShell user group meetings. That won't hurt my feelings too much.
Well, you need a break every now and then.
Yeah. Yeah, they take I was surprised, like, you know, when Mike Robbins kind of handed over the baton to me, like, here you go. It's warning, it's a lot of work. And he wasn't kidding. Yeah, it's running user groups quite a bit of work. I mean, even setting up a new event is 45 minutes to an hour to get all the stuff set up on Eventbrite and blog posts and everything else done. So, yeah, it takes a bit of doing. So, yeah, what, like in November here where there's no speaker, it's like, well, I'm not going to push too hard, but if we find somebody, I'll gladly have somebody present. But if not, I'll be happy for the break too. Really Research Triangle has 4 guys running it, so they can kind of spread the load out a bit.
Well, I know James has got a couple helping him with the Chattanooga group, but then now on top of that, his full-time job is the DevOps Collective.
Yeah, that's a lot of work too.
Yeah,
It's doing good work there though.
That was the PowerShell on the River. That was the first PowerShell conference I ever have gone to. I've been wanting to go to Redmond, would love to, but
oh yeah.
I was just grateful we had something that close, and it was 2 days, and I mean we got a whole day with Jeff. That Friday, the whole day was him speaking, and that was wonderful. And then all the things we had Saturday, it was great, and I was so looking forward to that this year. And maybe even sneaking up to the one in Raleigh, and then COVID-19.
Yeah,
just kind of took the wind out of everybody's sail.
Well, I'm kind of planning for the time where we're not restricted from travel. Looking for new employment. I'm making sure it's going to be in a major city somewhere, or at least, in the surrounding area around a major city. Just living, 200, 250 miles from the nearest major city center is kind of makes it tough to get into, in-person user group meetings. It's kind of one of those blessing in disguise. Unemployed, now I get to pick where do I want to work. So we kind of picked a few cities that we're interested in, and that's where we're focusing the job hunt. So it'll be nice. Be nice to get around people again. Not that we're that small here, but I mean, we do only have 14,000 people, and that doesn't lend itself to a lot of IT jobs. You can count the number of sysadmin positions on one hand.
But yet some of these smaller areas like that, that's where people are flocking to do remote work from.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. I won't deny. Yeah, it's really really nice here.
I know there's some areas in Montana. The locals have been like, we don't want y'all moving here. You might bring COVID with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in PA, not too side out of Philly, and everybody from like New York was coming in. We were just going, oh no.
Yeah.
Somehow we pulled through.
They were South Carolina was making if you came down from New York, you had to go into quarantine.
Yeah, they're discouraging travel here too. So,
as far as I know, the border between here and there is still closed.
oh yeah, yeah. Our prime minister is quite. Well, keeps revisiting once a month, and every month it's the same thing. It's like, no, not yet. It's like, kind of see where you're coming from. But I know there's a lot of people here, and I didn't realize how prolific it was. But what did they say it was? It's ridiculously high. There was something like 500,000 snowbirds from Canada go to Arizona every winter, and they're not going this year. I know some of them that go down to Arizona are really worried about the economy down in places like that. Like, what are they going to do without everybody going down there now? So, yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation for everyone.
Well, that's why a lot of the beach properties, they rent to the snowbirds for a month at a time.
Yeah,
and they're losing all that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, it's nice meeting you, gentlemen. I have to jet off here, but I really appreciate the resources you mentioned, like the Chicago PowerShell users group and some books. So,
Yeah,
I
and if you get a chance, pop into the Research Triangle one. The
research.
gang there, they are a really good group.
Will do.
Yeah.
All right.
Good
All
meetings.
right, nice seeing you.
Thanks.
I know some of the I've been playing with. I bought Jeff Geerling and Josh Stephanie's books on Ansible because I've been playing with it, and Puppet Bolt. Bolt's interesting because it runs on not only Linux, but you can run it under Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ansible is purely running under Linux. They both have their, Ansible's a very mature product.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't require any agents. It uses what's there. Bolt, I like the fact that it does run on Windows. They have a PowerShell module now for it that they're working on that's constantly improving.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff it wants to install the Puppet agent, and that kind of trips me up. I like to use what's there because on some of the systems you can't install any kind of agents, but the built-in DSC stuff that's there, just use what's there. Leverage that, and I would like to get good enough with both to do a little presentation on them and show the differences, but I've used them both, not only in the lab but otherwise. But they work well. The nice thing about using, especially like with Ansible, it's idempotent. Is that how you pronounce that word?
I think so. Yeah.
If it was already done, it's not going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it straight up in PowerShell, you got to code that in there. You got to go check. Okay, have we already done this? Okay, no, we don't need to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cool thing. If you're using any of the modules they have, and they have Windows firewall modules, Windows features modules, PowerShell. I mean, the DSC modules. You're sending that over, and if it's already done, it's not gonna do it again, and it works very well. A lot of the examples and a lot of the demos people do are really wrapped around Linux. I know at the 2017, I think, PowerShell conference, one of the guys showed Ansible for Windows, and I can't remember. Let's see. He actually wrote a chapter for the book. Jeremy Murrah, Murrah, and it was a really good presentation on using Ansible in a Windows environment. That's just something for you to learn. I mean, automation, especially if you can get into either the AWX or Ansible Tower, where you got that automation model. I mean, because that's what we're trying to do at work is, it's the whole thing. Don Jones would say, if it's something I got to do manually, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Automate it.
Hey, I don't mind doing it manually once.
Yeah. I had several things like that at work. I never had the time to get the script written, debugged and working. And finally one day I just had to say enough and just stop and get it done.
Mm-hmm. One of those quick little tools that I wrote at my last job, we had a problem where we were getting a lot of people's accounts getting locked out. Turns out it was their iPhones connecting to the Wi-Fi and just trying to use the wrong passwords, but their accounts were getting locked out several times a day until we figured out what it was, and there was always 2 or 3 people locked out, and it was getting to be a pain. They'd phone up and say, "Oh, my account's locked." Well, let's get your username. Let's go into Active Directory. It's unlocked. No, I just wrote a little script. It's like, run the script, and it searches Active Directory for the locked users, and then it just asks, "Do you want to unlock this user? Yes or no?" And you just walk through, and so instead of spending 2 or 3 minutes trying to unlock a single user, you can run the script, and 20 seconds later, you've got the user unlocked and done.
Yeah, we migrated Office 365, and we were making everybody use the Outlook app
Mm-hmm.
from Microsoft. It works great, but enough of them complained they wanted to use the native app that we had to allow that, and then the calls have already started coming in. Well, I'm having trouble with it. Well, sorry, you can use Outlook and you won't have that problem. But Microsoft did not write the ActiveSync implementation that is on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
Apple wrote it, and it has always been an issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since we put in our first MDM at work, the ActiveSync implementation on iOS has always been problematic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would have people that would pick up their phone and they would accept a meeting. They became the owner of the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we saw all kinds of problems like that too, and
glad it wasn't just us.
I very quickly went from setting it up for the native mail app and just told people, you know what, there's this really great Outlook app that Microsoft wrote. Just download that. You'll have no trouble whatsoever. And yeah, it wasn't long before everybody else on the help desk was recommending Outlook too. And still had those couple of people that insisted on the native mail app. And yeah, you had all kinds of problems. Yeah, meeting problems, or somebody would accept a meeting, they become the meeting owner, and every time they replied, everybody got an email about it, and just all kinds of weirdness going on.
Yeah, I heard of a case of a user because they had this email they were trying to get into work because they thought, well, this is great. This is a cute thing, and some had like a PDF attachment or something, and they were like, "It's a great thing," and they kept trying to forward it to work, and it was getting blocked. And so they finally figured out you can go into the native mail app on iOS and copy it from one mail system to another, unless that's being blocked. Fortunately, the systems in place stopped it, but it turned out it was a malware payload. I mean, that's just another reason, like, isolate your mail in something like Outlook and don't let them use it for anything else. It's not it may be their phone, but the email and the security of it and everything belongs to the company.
Evening, David. How are things?
Pretty good, thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Well, that's not a good sign. Somebody new showed up and we killed the conversation.
No, I'm sorry. I got my wife here. She's watching TV. I'm just I don't get a chance to join your group that often.
No worries. No worries. If you want to just sit and listen.
New tricks, and I just want to kind of observe right now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, we're hanging out probably for another half hour or so still, so it's all good.
Yeah, I use PowerShell a lot with I don't do administration work anymore. I'm in security. I work for the government, and I do a lot of stuff with Microsoft Office and reporting, but I'm still I love to script things. I used to do everything in VB script and VBA for Microsoft Office before PowerShell even existed, XP time frame.
Very cool. Very cool.
If you're in security, you should be doing a lot of your pen testing with PowerShell.
I just report on things. I'm in it, what they call it, information system security role. So I'm not doing pen testing. I'm kind of like in between the engineers and management.
Yeah, we have a team of people like that. They do a scanning of the systems and write a lot of reports and requests for updates to be applied. And that's a challenge in itself, because you have to work with your vendors to make sure that, okay, we're going to apply all these updates. Wait, that'll break our system.
Forgot to check what was coming up next week at Research Triangle.
I thought I got an email about it the other day.
Well, there we go. Hang on. Security focused event. Title to be announced soon is all it says. Well, there we go. Fernando Tomlinson.
Oh, they just did their little lightning talks thing last week.
Yeah, and I missed it.
I got to see a good part of it. And there were some really interesting things, and I'd like to go back, and I hope they get them all posted. One of the interesting ones, it was funny because the guy was searching through and finding all the JPEG and PNG files and looking for duplicates.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because somebody said, why are you not doing get child item with recurse? because he actually was calling CMD/C and then doing DIR with a whole bunch of switches to give like brief output.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, because this is magnitudes faster than get child item. And I know there's something way to do it in .NET that because CMD.exe is going to eventually go away.
Well, yeah.
And I was talking with our programmer, and there's a way to do it in .NET that would be faster than the get child item. That's something I want to learn. That's the whole reason for learning the C#, because I want to learn how to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it goes back to that. More economical to do things in C# than PowerShell when it gets to a certain volume.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping they hurry up. I know they've got one of their lightning talks out there, but they haven't gotten the rest of them from that meeting last week, and I'm looking forward to watching some of them I missed.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Research Triangle's got anything until November 18th. It's going to be quiet for the early part of November.
That's just in time for Thanksgiving.
What? You are about 3 weeks too late.
Oh yeah, Canadian Thanksgiving. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Have you ever looked at, do you work any with SQL?
Not in quite some time. My last version of SQL Server was 2000.
Yeah, Christian Lemaire's DBA tools. I just don't know why every DBA doesn't use that. That's a cool module.
Yeah, I keep looking at it. It's like, I really should learn some more, but I should get back into it because I always enjoyed it. It's just since I left that job role, I didn't have any need for it. So now there's been several versions. But yeah, I was kind of following that DBA tools as it was coming out for its initial release there, and yeah, it looked like a really, really slick.
They put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
Somebody was talking. I saw somebody posted something on Twitter about they had used that PowerShell module to do something at work that would have taken hours otherwise, endless hours, and they did that in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing with PowerCLI. The lead VMware guy was like, we need to set this option on all these hosts. He's like, go in and click, 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 click. I said, wait a minute. I said, no. I said, give me a minute. So what's the option you want to set? Let me look this. Okay. So yeah, I say, okay. Oh, it's done.
Yeah.
What? It's done. I've changed them.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
I've been able to do a lot of stuff with CSV files and Excel and all that kind of stuff. I really haven't found anything that I can do for the new versions of Access, like 365 with being able to build tables or queries. Have y'all ever seen anything for PowerShell yet?
No, but if you want to do something as far as you were talking about CSV and Excel, Doug Fink's import Excel module.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm still waiting for approval for it. If you see what happens with government circles.
Oh, I understand, but that is one slick module, because I didn't realize it until I looked at his module. A Excel file and a Word file is nothing but a zip file.
Yeah, XML.
XML.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw that as well. The other thing was that like I've got one of my PowerShell scripts I've got sending email to all my engineers the Nessus files that after they go through a Perl parser, and it tells them what they need to patch, and I've got it all automated with PowerShell, which is pretty cool. But I think it might be really nice to be able to incorporate some of those Excel reports in the email itself, like with some graphs to say, hey, look, this is how many vulnerabilities we have. It's all how much time you have to play.
Yeah. Are you using send mail message?
I have to go look at my code again, but I don't have an SMTP server, so I'm having to do it through Outlook. I remember I'm
Okay.
basically working as a standard user, just in a security role, so I don't have
Yeah.
rights to any kind of. It's keeping our roles separated, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
I was just gonna say, if you were using it, it's depreciated because they're not updating it, and you have to use. It's another module you'd have to get approval to use MailKit, because I've been looking at it to replace send mail message.
yeah, I figured out how to do like a HTML email and actually attach my signature on it as part of adding the HTML, and then I just add the attachments as part of an array, depending on how many attachments I have for that particular group. And like I said, it takes. I've been running it for a couple of years, and it's been, whenever they change anything, it always takes a little bit of re-engineering. But after a couple of years, I've got a lot of bugs worked out of it. So when they change a name, I just change a variable and all that kind of stuff. I never really considered myself a programmer, but I've been, I do dabble a lot.
Yeah, it's starting to become more and more common. Doesn't matter what IT role you have, you're going to be doing a little bit of software development, even if you don't mean to.
Yeah, most of the same level of coworkers I have are maybe just working with Excel a lot and doing a lot of stuff manually. But I go back to writing my own batch scripts from the days of before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what I would do is I'd run command line VBA scripts. I learned how to do command line, so I'd run everything from a command prompt. So I'd use CScript, and I could actually see it. Instead of popping up messages in your command prompt, it would pop it up. I mean, instead of popping up a message, you'd have to click OK. It would be in the command prompt, kind of like pre PowerShell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's where I started out, was VBA and VBS. Did a lot of stuff. Windows Scripting Host. That's where Don Jones and Jeff Hicks really those got their start in doing stuff. And I mean, for a
Yeah, the
couple of years
Microsoft
there,
scripting guy.
yeah, for
Oh,
a
yeah,
couple
it
of
was.
years after PowerShell even came out, I still had some of Don and Jeff's Windows Scripting Host stuff in production because it was working. I'm gonna reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Now, what I've also done is I call another PowerShell script when I first load up mine that calls all the functions. So I have a function library, contains all my functions. I pull up another INI file into my script, and it loads all my variables. And that way, it makes it a lot easier just to edit that INI file than to have to go into the code and hunt for things.
So you're dot sourcing your functions and loading.
Yeah, I load that, and then I have a HTML email folder, and it has all the HTML source code that it pulls into the PowerShell script that puts it in the Outlook message before it sends it.
It's one of the things I'm doing at work is I've got all these little extra functions that I found a guy had written a function to pull back the certificates, like connect to a site, pull back its certificate, and you can examine the properties, see the expiration date. And I've been using that internally, looking at our different, certificates we have to keep up with. So I've been taking I've got all, there's a number of little functions like that you acquire, and you have to dot source them all the time. So I'm currently right now working on my own little, like Mike Robbins did, tools module that has, and Jeff Hicks has got one. Except his is around PowerShell itself, but I'm doing like my own little tools module with all these little favorite functions that I've found here and there that nobody else has put into a module, and I'm incorporating them into that, so I don't have to dot source them every time. It'll be in a module, it'll be there, and it'll automatically get parsed and automatically be able to call those functions without having to dot source them every time.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm working on, trying to make my life easier. Okay, where of the 3 or 4 different places I've got scripts, where's the script at?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to centralize everything, be a little more organized. I like to hear Jeff talk about his C:\\scripts folder and how many thousands of scripts he has in there.
Yeah, something I'm surprised that more people don't do is build their own, like for every job they're at, build their own, tools module.
It's tough if you're constantly dealing with break fix.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Deadlines and it's only so much of you to go around. I mean, today, like I said, I was watching that Azure Fundamentals training, and basically what I did was I told my boss, I said, I'm going to be doing this and I'm cutting everything off. I shut down email, shut down Teams, and I focused on that. And I sat here on my little notebook making notes, and that was working from home today. I'll be in the office tomorrow, but I will shut everything off and close my door, and I will focus on the rest of that training. Sometimes that's just what you have to do.
I just took mine a couple of weeks ago and passed it.
Nice.
The fundamentals test.
Fundamentals, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Nice.
The 900 course.
I think I might want to be aware. I think they're changing it soon, so I don't know how much difference there can be. I think the one thing they're going to put in more on the next module is more about a virtual remote desktop with Azure. So
I need to hurry up and take it then, because that's not being covered in this course.
Yeah. Well, I think I only need about another week or two to finish covering all the material, and I'll be good to go. I think they said this is November 24th was the day they were looking at introducing the new content.
Well, then I need to get this scheduled and take it.
We want to take a look at the. Hang on a second. I'm going to take a look at the site. I have that whole site bookmarked already, so let's take a look here. What does it say here? No, being updated on November 9th. There we go. Even sooner.
I guess I need to do some crash learning this week and schedule that test next week. Wasn't expecting that. Thanks.
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks for the news.
Yeah. Come for the PowerShell and get the Azure news.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is. That's okay. I'm going to do 900, then do the 104. I was going to move into the architect exams, but I think I'm going to move over to the, once I get 104, I'm going to move over to some of the Microsoft 365 ones.
I'm going to try to do the 104.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so am I. That one's going to be that's a good versatile one. That one will fit in a lot of places. But what I'm starting to see in a lot of the job postings is they're looking not just for an Azure admin, they're also looking for 365 admins too.
I've been since December migrating 30-something thousand users. So
you're getting familiar.
Very more than I wanted to be. I've for the longest time didn't want to have anything to do with migrating to Office 365, but I woke up one day and realized, you know what, we need to put this thing, because of the way the aids it was getting on our current mail system 2016 even, starting to show of A's. I'm like, you know what? We need to get this thing in the cloud. We don't need to be doing this anymore.
Mm.
We're not in the email business. And for the most part, that burden has been lifted.
Mm-hmm.
We still got some straggler accounts to migrate, but we're working on it. In fact, that reminds me, I need to make a note. I've got to look at one that I was trying to migrate today. I was waiting on it to sync up to Azure to where I can migrate it.
Mm. That's all good work. Stops you from getting bored.
It's been interesting because working with this, the two major tools out there was Quest and Binary Tree. I think there was another product, but we've been using Binary Tree, and there were a few hiccups. But the crazy thing is now is Quest bought them, so now there's only going to be one tool. As far as those two.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. That's like HPE buying Simplifity, but I think they did a good job with it. We were early adopters, and there were a few issues, and there's things they're still working out because their module for VMware was Flash based. So they're having to fix that because Flash is done.
Mm-hmm.
And but they've made it a pretty good product. You can't beat how fast their backups are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's phenomenal how quick those snapshots are. And we actually put it to the test. We created a 1 terabyte VM and backed it up, and then they claimed you could restore it in a minute or less, and we did it. I mean, that's pretty significant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that convinced me was hearing somebody they got hit by ransomware, and they had a file server, and they were trying to get the tapes going to restore all the data from tapes. And the guy that had access to it on Simplifity, he just went and, took him a few minutes. He was just getting his thoughts organized, but in no time he had this multi-terabyte volume restored. And he told the guys to just quit with the backup software. I've already restored it.
Yeah. There are sometimes faster ways of doing things than the traditional backups.
I think it's almost 11 here. I think I'm going to retire and get some rest.
Sounds good. Well, you have yourself a good evening, and if we don't have a meeting on the 10th, I'll see you at the next open discussion. And
when is
it's the 24th, I think. Let me have a look. What's the calendar say? Calendar says, yep, 24th.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Sounds good.
Dave, you have a good evening, sir.
You too. Good luck on your studying.
Yeah, kind of under a crunch now.
I got to a certain point where I had somebody had an exam cram, and that really helped out to get used to how they're going to ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I have a tendency to want to study everything backwards and forwards and to know it 120%. But you only run into so much time frame with studying. So
yeah, I am definitely guilty of that too. That's my thing. I get into studying something, I want to know it all. But yeah, for the exams, you don't have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah. They wanted me to take AWS, and now they want to take cloud security certifications too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to find time with all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll see you next time, Greg.
All right. Good evening.
All right. Nice to meet you, Greg.
David, if you want to hang out for a bit, I am happy to hang out and chat. But if you're done for the night, feel free to bow out and.
Yeah, so this was just an open discussion of PowerShell. It wasn't any
Yeah.
kind of particular class. I was just I thought
Yeah,
it was.
still-
I saw that it was 7 o'clock Mountain Time. I said, "Well, I'm not that late then." 'Cause I always
No.
have 100 other things to do.
Yeah, no, it's the fourth Tuesday of the month we do an open discussion meeting now. So just bring your own topics, or just like tonight, just a casual discussion about whatever. But then the second Tuesday of every month, you usually have a speaker come in and do a presentation on something.
Yeah, it's what I usually catch, and then I have like 101 other things that I got going on at this time too.
Yeah.
But
But if you ever miss the meetings, we do post them to the YouTube channel as well.
yeah, I try to find time to catch up on all that, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually funny now with the pandemic. I seem like I have less time to listen to my security podcasts and other things I used to try to keep up with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Those times where you think you'll have more time to do things, you wind up with less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we don't have anything planned for the 10th of November. So unless we have a speaker come up in the next week or so here, we'll cancel the November 10 meeting, and then we'll have another open discussion on the 24th.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that really got me into PowerShell a couple of years ago, I used to do a lot of scripting, but I thought PowerShell originally was locked down to where I wasn't able to use it as a regular user to really do much. And one of the other ISOs said, "Oh, I've run a simple PowerShell script for." They were doing extracting zip files. See, my script does all that. They extract the zip files, rezips them, renames them, and copies different files to different locations. And it's just that's just one of a handful of scripts that I've written. But I like to try to figure out where can I use PowerShell to automate something to make my life a little bit easier. I wish I could write security controls for me and answer emails.
Yeah.
I need some AI abilities.
Well, there we go. I just need to take the Azure AI exams now. Get some of that in there.
Wouldn't be able to connect it to Azure AI yet. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go, and that way I'm just glad I was able to make the meeting, because usually I forget about them until it's too late.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could stop by.
Are you all in Mississippi too, or are you in Mississippi?
No, no. The original founders of these were Mike Robbins and Ron Edwards. They're in Mississippi. I actually live in Alberta, Canada.
Oh wow.
So kept the name the same though, because no point changing it.
I'm getting ready for a Cat 1 hurricane.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah, the worst we had today was a light rain. So.
Yeah, I live right near New Orleans, so it's getting ready to get pounded again.
Right. Well, stay safe down there.
All right. Well, you stay warm up there.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you guys later then.
Thanks.
Bye.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.